She was 5 in a wheelchair handing out flyers when a billionaire walked past. He never noticed the wallet he dropped. She chased him in silence through the city until exhaustion took her voice. When he finally stopped, the truth shattered his cold heart forever, and nothing was ever the same. Morning in Harborstone tasted like salt and warm bread. Sea fog drifted between glass towers and old bricks softening everything except the rush of people who moved like they were late to their own lives. At Mariner Avenue and 5th, beside a bakery window glowing with cinnamon, a small wheelchair waited near a permitted community table. The sign read, Harborstone Learning Center Family Day, free books and meals. A volunteer had checked the forms, then left the smallest helper to do what she loved most, offer hope in paper form. Her name was Marin Waverly, 5 years old, bright-eyed, careful, and quietly brave. Marin balanced a stack of flyers on her lap. She offered one to a couple hurrying past. The woman smiled without stopping. The man took it and folded it like it didn't matter. Marin kept her chin up. "Thank you," she said, because gratitude was her way of staying steady. A breeze lifted the corners. She pressed them down. Her wheelchair was clean but well used. The wheels sometimes squeaked like a whisper. She didn't mind. Then the street shifted. A black sedan eased to the curb. The door opened, and a man stepped out like he owned the air around him. Blaze Hargrove, 40, navy suit cut sharp. He moved with the calm certainty of someone whose name opened doors before he arrived. People subtly parted for him. No one asked him to wait. No one asked him to look. Marin's fingers tightened around a single flyer. For one hopeful second, she imagined offering it and being seen. She lifted the paper. Blaze's gaze passed over her clean, distant, already gone. Marin lowered her hand, keeping her smile in place like a brave little mask. For her. Marin didn't think Blaze Hargrove was mean. Mean had a face you could recognize, raised voices, sharp words. Blaze didn't do any of that. He simply didn't notice. She watched the back of his suit as he crossed the sidewalk surrounded by phones and coffee cups. A woman in heels brushed past Marin's wheel and murmured, "Sorry," without looking. Marin nodded as if it was fine. She had practiced being fine. Inside her chest lived a list of rules adults said when they were stressed, rules that sounded like protection, but settled in a child-like stones. Don't interrupt. Don't ask for too much. Don't make a scene. Marin had never heard them with cruelty. That was the confusing part. They were spoken like advice, yet they taught her your needs are noise. A young woman followed behind Blaze June Park, his chief of staff tablet in hand. June's eyes flicked toward Marin for half a heartbeat. Not pity, just awareness, like noticing a small light in a busy room. Marin offered June a flyer, polite and careful. June's hand hovered, almost, but Blaze's pace tugged June forward. A call came through. Blaze answered before the first ring finished. June's attention snapped back to her job, and the moment vanished. Marin kept her arm up a second longer anyway, then set the flyer back on her lap. She smoothed the stack as if smoothing paper could smooth feelings. She told herself it was okay. People like him were always in a hurry. As Blaze neared the tower doors, Marin felt a thin thread of hope stretching too far. She pressed it down the way she pressed down the flyers when the wind rose quietly without complaint. It just keeps walking. Blaze Hargrove's day ran on precision, the elevator timed to the second, the meeting agenda clean and tight. Since losing his wife years ago, order had become more than preference. It was armor. He strode toward the tower entrance, already calculating the next hour. Then something slipped from his coat pocket and hit the sidewalk with a soft, unmistakable sound. A wallet, thin, expensive, dark as ink, landed near the curb opening, just enough to flash a corner of a black card. No one reacted. A cyclist glided past. A man on his phone stepped around it without looking. Marin saw the wallet instantly. Her eyes snapped to it then to Blaze's retreating back. Not greed, responsibility. For a beat she didn't move. She scanned the crowd as if the street might accuse her. She heard her rules again, don't make a scene. But the wallet wasn't hers. That mattered. Maren leaned forward, carefully practiced at reaching down without tipping. Her fingers closed around the leather. It was warm, like it still belonged to him. She didn't open it. She didn't peek. She held it to her chest the way you hold something fragile you intend to return. She tried to call out, but the city swallowed sound. Her mister came out tiny, lost beneath traffic and footsteps. Blaze kept walking, pulled by doors that opened as if they knew his name. Today was the last day the learning center could hand out flyers in this district. Tomorrow the table would be moved somewhere else. If she didn't return the wallet now, she might never get another chance. So she turned her wheelchair with a quiet click, and she began to follow. Her wheels squeaked once, but she kept pushing into the crowd. The first push felt almost easy. Maren's hands found the rims familiar and warm. The sidewalk ahead looked smooth enough, the morning still young. She tucked the wallet securely against her chest, not hidden, just safe, and followed the dark line of Blaze Hargrove's coat through the moving crowd. He walked like someone the city made room for. Maren rolled after him like someone the city flowed around. A bus hissed at the curb. A street musician struck a bright chord. The noise pressed in from every side, loud and busy and indifferent. Maren tried again to speak, lifting her chin. Her voice dissolved before it reached anyone. She swallowed, not discouraged, just adjusting. She pushed again. The flyers slid slightly on her lap. She steadied them with one hand, steering with the other. She had learned how to multitask early. You had to when the world didn't slow down. Blaze crossed toward the tower plaza. Sunlight flashed off glass, and for a moment, he disappeared into reflections. Panic fluttered in Maren's chest, not sharp, not dramatic. Just the quiet fear of losing sight. She leaned forward and pushed harder. The wheels squeaked this time. She flinched, embarrassed by the sound, then reminded herself it didn't matter. Sounds were allowed. She was allowed to exist. A man stepped back, suddenly surprised to see her there. "Oh, sorry," he said, sincere this time. Maren nodded, breath steadying. "It's okay." She watched Blaze again, counting steps the way she counted corners when the sidewalks felt too long. Each turn of the wheels was deliberate, careful. The wallet stayed pressed to her heart. Not because it was valuable, because it was right. And if she did the right thing long enough, maybe the world would notice. Harborstone didn't wait for anyone. A delivery cart blocked the narrow stretch of sidewalk ahead, stacked high with boxes. Maren slowed, scanning for space. The cart operator was already gone, the obstacle left behind like a test. She turned her chair, choosing the longer route. Brick replaced concrete. The vibration traveled up her arms, small shocks with every roll. Her hands tightened, knuckles whitening. She kept going. People moved around her in currents, some stepping aside, others not seeing her until the last second. No one meant harm. That didn't make it easier. Her shoulders ached. She paused, breathing quietly, and looked down at the wallet. The leather edge peeked out from under her fingers, patient and still. "Almost," she whispered. To herself. Blaze was closer now, his reflection stretching tall across the glass of the tower. She tried again, a little louder. "Mister." The sound barely reached past her own ears. She remembered another voice, gentle, tired, telling her once, "Sweetheart, people don't like being interrupted." Maren's mouth closed. She pushed. The front wheel caught in a shallow crack. Her chair stopped short, jolting her forward. For a second, panic flashed. She adjusted, reversing just enough, then angled the wheel and rolled free. A woman watched, concern flickering across her face. "You need help?" Maren shook her head quickly, polite. "Thank you." Because she wasn't stuck. She was choosing this. The tower doors loomed ahead, tall and bright. Blaze reached them, phone already at his ear. Marin's arms burned now, but she didn't slow. Today mattered. If she didn't return the wallet today, it would become a story she never finished. She pushed harder. The thought came back to her as clearly as the sound of wheels on brick. Today is the last day. That morning at the learning center, the volunteer coordinator had crouched beside Marin's chair and smoothed her hair. "We'll be moving the table next week, okay? New rules for this block?" Marin had nodded, brave and quiet. Rules were normal. Moving was normal. Endings were normal too. But endings meant you didn't always get a second chance. Blaze stepped into the tower's shadow. The glass doors parted for him, recognizing his presence like an old friend. Marin felt the distance widen. Her hands trembled as she pushed, breath coming faster now. The air inside the plaza felt cooler, heavier. Her arms burned and a thin sheen of sweat gathered at her temples. She tried to speak again, forcing sound past the ache in her chest. Sir, it came out barely louder than a thought. The doors began to turn. Marin's heart stuttered. If he went inside, he would disappear into elevators and schedules and places she could never reach. She leaned forward and pushed with everything she had left. The flyers slid, nearly falling. She trapped them with her elbow and kept moving. The wallet stayed tight against her chest, a promise she refused to break. The doors turned faster. Marin rolled across the threshold just as the glass closed behind Blaze. Inside the lobby, opened marble floors, bright light, quiet power. She was in. Her arms shook violently now. Her vision blurred at the edges, but she didn't stop. She steered toward him, counting each breath. Just a little more, she told herself. Just enough to give it back. The lobby swallowed sound the way the street had, only this silence was polished, intentional. Marin rolled forward her wheels, whispering against marble. The air felt cooler here, heavier somehow, like the room expected people to behave. She straightened instinctively, pressing her shoulders back the way adults did when they entered important places. Ahead, Blaze Hargrove moved toward the elevator's, phone at his ear, voice low and controlled. Words like quarter schedule, confirm floated back to her without meaning. Marin opened her mouth. She closed it again. Silence had become a habit, one she wore the way other children wore shoes. It fit without thinking. It kept her from being scolded, from being a problem. Silence meant safety. She rolled faster, arms burning now. Her hands slipped once on the rims, slick with sweat. She adjusted her grip and kept going. A security guard noticed her at last. His expression softened immediately. He took a step toward her, concerned, gentle, professional. "Hey there, kiddo," he said. "You okay?" Marin nodded quickly. She lifted the wallet with both hands, offering it like proof of good intentions. "I think." "He dropped it," she said, voice small but steady. The guard followed her gaze to Blaze. He raised his voice slightly. Mr. Hargrove. Blaze didn't turn. Not yet. He was used to being addressed by people who stood where he could see them. The guard took another step. Sir June Park appeared near the elevator, bank tablet tucked under her arm. Her eyes landed on Marin and widened just a fraction. June's attention sharpened. She saw the wallet. She saw the child. Their eyes met. Marin mouthed the words she couldn't say aloud. "You dropped it." June slowed, torn. For a breath, it looked like she might break formation, might step back toward the small chair in the middle of the vast lobby. Then Blaze's voice cut through, impatient, but not unkind. "June. One word. Enough." June hesitated, then turned back toward him. She lifted her hand in a subtle gesture toward Marin. Wait, before disappearing into the elevator's glow. The doors slid shut. Marin stared at the closed metal, hope thinning but not gone. She took a breath and rolled forward anyway. The lobby seemed endless now. Every push sent a dull ache up Marin's arms into her shoulders. Her breathing grew shallow, careful. She focused on small goals, one tile then the next, because thinking about the whole distance made her chest tighten. People moved around her without noticing, shoes clicking softly. A woman stepped aside at the last moment, startled. A man paused, confused, then continued on. Maren didn't mind. She only watched the elevator numbers climb. One more chance, she told herself. Just one. She pushed harder. The wheels squeaked again, louder this time. She winced, cheeks warming with embarrassment. Sound meant attention, and attention could turn sharp. But no one scolded her. No one told her to stop. The security guard hovered nearby, unsure whether to intervene. He didn't want to frighten her. He didn't want to overstep. Maren's vision blurred slightly at the edges. The marble floor shimmered, light bending strangely. She blinked hard, steadying herself. She reached the elevator bank just as the doors slid open again. Blaze stepped out mid-sentence, phone still at his ear. He was frowning now, the way he did when a problem refused to resolve. Maren gathered everything she had left and pushed forward. Her chair bumped lightly against the edge of the carpet. The jolt rattled her. She gasped, fingers tightening around the wallet. She lifted it, arms shaking. "Sir," she tried. Her voice came out thin, almost apologetic. Blaze turned, irritation ready on his face. His eyes landed on her, on the wheelchair, on the wallet in her hands. For a split second, his expression sharpened, not anger but suspicion, the reflex of a man who had learned to protect himself from being taken advantage of. "Where did you get that?" he asked, voice even. Maren swallowed. The room tilted slightly. You dropped it," she said. "Outside." Blaze glanced at the security guard, then back at her. His jaw tightened. He took a step closer. Maren's arms were shaking badly now. The effort of holding the wallet upright felt enormous. She tried to say more, to explain, but the words tangled with her breath. Her heart pounded loud in her ears. She managed one last sentence, barely audible, honest and exhausted. "I chased you because I was scared you wouldn't come back." The strength drained from her all at once. The lobby rushed toward her, and then everything went dark. Blaze moved without thinking. His phone hit the floor. His hands reached out, catching Maren as she slumped forward, her small body light and limp against his chest. For a heartbeat, the entire lobby froze. Then June Park was there, urgency cutting through her composure. "Call medical now," she snapped to the security guard already kneeling beside them. The guard's radio crackled to life. Blaze lowered Maren carefully, easing her onto the carpet. Her eyelashes fluttered. Her breathing was shallow but steady. She looked like a child who had simply run too far. The wallet slid from her fingers. Blaze picked it up automatically, his name staring back at him like an accusation. June checked Maren's pulse, her movements calm and practiced. "She's okay," June said quickly. "She just pushed herself too hard." Blaze stared at the child at his feet. 5 years old, so small, so determined. The fountain at the far end of the lobby murmured on, obscene in its calm. "I didn't." Blaze began, then stopped. The words didn't matter. Medical staff arrived within minutes, efficient and gentle. A gurney appeared, clean and ready. Blaze found himself stepping aside, then stepping back again, unwilling to lose sight of her. "We're taking her to St. Ilara Children's," a paramedic said. "She should be fine, but we need to check her." Blaze nodded once. "I'll go with you." June looked up sharply. "Blaze, I said I'll go," he repeated, voice low, final. The paramedic didn't question it. As they moved toward the exit, Blaze glanced down at the wallet in his hand. The leather felt heavier now, like it carried the weight of every assumption he'd made in the last 10 minutes. He looked at Maren's face, peaceful, exhausted, utterly unguarded. Something inside him shifted, subtle but irreversible. For the first time in years, Blaze Hargrove wasn't thinking about where he was going next. He was thinking about who he might have already failed and how to make sure he didn't do it again. Saint. Ilara Children's Hospital welcomed them with clean light and quiet efficiency. Automatic doors slid open. The city's noise fell away. Nurse Nora Delgado met the gurney with a practiced smile that steadied everyone in the room. "Hi there, sweetheart," Nora said softly, walking alongside Maren as they moved. "I'm Nora. You're safe." Maren's eyelids fluttered. She made a small sound, half breath, half agreement. Blaze followed the wallet still in his hand, like something he didn't deserve to hold anymore. He watched the way the staff moved around Maren, gentle, precise, respectful. No rushing, no fear, just care. Nora checked vitals, murmuring reassurance the whole time. "Heart rate's okay, a little dehydrated. We'll take good care of you." She glanced up at Blaze. "Are you her guardian?" The question landed softly and cut deep. Blaze opened his mouth. Nothing came out. June stepped in smoothly. "He brought her in," she said. "We're contacting her program." Nora nodded, unfazed. "Thank you for bringing her. That matters. That matters." Blaze felt the words settle somewhere unfamiliar. Praise wasn't rare in his world, but this kind was. Maren was wheeled toward a curtained bay. As they passed under the lights, a folded flyer slipped from her lap and fluttered to the floor. Nora picked it up immediately and placed it back with care. Family Day. Nora read quietly, smiling. "That's nice." Blaze noticed everything now, the way Maren's fingers curled when the blanket brushed her skin, the way her breathing eased when the room quieted. He stood back as the nurse worked, hands useless in his pockets. His reflection stared at him from a steel cabinet, tailored suit-controlled expression, eyes searching for something he couldn't name. Nora returned. "She'll rest for a bit. You can wait just outside." Blaze nodded, grateful for instructions. As the curtain drew closed, he looked once more at Maren's small face, peaceful, trusting. The hospital lights hummed steadily. For the first time in years, Blaze sat down and waited. The waiting area smelled faintly of coffee and disinfectant. Blaze sat rigidly, his phone dark in his hand. Meetings were being rescheduled without him. He didn't check. June paced once, then stopped in front of him. "Blaze," she said carefully. "You saw how far she went." Blaze didn't answer right away. His jaw tightened. "People have done worse for less," he said, finally, voice controlled. "You know that." June's gaze sharpened, not angry, just disappointed. "A 5-year-old in a wheelchair staged this for your wallet." He flinched. "I didn't say that," he replied. "You thought it," June said gently. Blaze looked down at the wallet again, then at the seam of the floor. He hated that she was right. He hated more that his first instinct had been suspicion, not concern. June lowered her voice. "Let's be sure," she said. "I'll get the footage." Blaze nodded once. Everything. Street cams. Lobby. June left. The chair across from him remained empty. Minutes passed. The hum of the building filled the space where certainty used to be. Blaze rubbed his thumb over the leather edge of the wallet, remembering how Maren had held it, 2 hands careful, like it could break. June returned with a tablet and a look that told him this would change things. They moved into a small office. The screen glowed. The footage began outside the tower, the wallet dropping Blaze's stride, never slowing. Then Maren watching, hesitating, choosing. The camera followed her path, the squeaking wheels, the pause at cracked pavement, her mouth opening, no sound coming out. The way she pushed again. Blaze leaned forward, breath shallow. "She didn't take it," June whispered. "She protected it." The video reached the lobby, Maren holding the wallet up, arms shaking. Then the collapse. Blaze catching her. The screen froze on Maren's face, trusting, exhausted. Silence filled the room. Blaze swallowed hard. Shame rose clean and sharp. "I was wrong," he said quietly. June nodded. Now you know. Blaze stared at the paused frame. She believed I'd stop. He set the wallet down like laying something heavy to rest. And I almost didn't. Nora Delgado returned with calm steps and a reassuring smile. She's stable, she said. Just overexertion and dehydration. She'll be okay. Blaze exhaled slowly, a tension leaving his chest he hadn't known was there. Nora continued professional and warm. We contacted the Harborstone Learning Center. Her name is Maren Waverly. She's enrolled in their family support program, fully permitted, supervised. June nodded. And her caseworker, Tessa Lane, Nora replied. She's on her way. Blaze repeated the name under his breath as if anchoring it. Nora hesitated, then added, Maren likes to help. The staff say she insists on doing things herself, offering flyers thanking people. She wants to feel useful. Blaze's chest tightened. Useful. At 5. They were allowed into Maren's room. She lay beneath a light blanket IV taped neatly to her small hand. Her breathing was even. Blaze stopped at the threshold, uncertain. June touched his arm. Go, she said softly. He stepped closer. Maren stirred. Her eyes opened unfocused at first, then widening as she saw him. Her first words were not fear. They were apology. Did I do something wrong? She whispered. The question struck Blaze harder than any accusation ever had. No, he said quickly, kneeling so he wasn't towering over her. His voice softened. You did something right. Maren blinked, confused. He continued, careful. I saw the video. You returned my wallet. Thank you. Her fingers curled into the blanket. I didn't open it, she said urgently. I promise. I know, Blaze replied. I'm sorry I didn't stop sooner. Maren studied his face, searching for anger and not finding it. She relaxed a fraction. I tried to call, she said, barely audible. But I'm not loud. Blaze felt something give way. You don't have to be, he said. I should have listened. Maren's lips curved into the smallest smile, relief, not triumph. Outside footsteps approached. Tessa Lane had arrived, and with her, the next chapter began. Tessa Lane arrived without drama. No rush. No sharp heels announcing authority. Just a steady knock on the open door, and a woman in a charcoal blazer holding a thin folder like it mattered more what was inside than how it looked. She took in the room in one quiet sweep, the IV, the stuffed seal on the chair, Maren's small hand curled against the blanket, Blaze kneeling instead of standing. Good signs. I'm Tessa Lane, she said gently. Family Support Services. Maren stiffened the instant she heard the words. Her fingers tightened, knuckles paling. She didn't cry. She didn't ask questions. She only went very still. Blaze noticed immediately. Tessa noticed that he noticed. That's okay, sweetheart, Tessa said, lowering her voice, keeping her hands visible. I'm just here to check on you. Maren nodded, but her eyes slid toward Blaze again, searching. He leaned closer, careful not to touch without permission. She's safe, he said quietly but firmly. Right now. Tessa met his gaze, assessing, not suspicious, just thorough. She opened the folder slightly enough to glance at her notes. Maren is part of the Harborstone Learning Center's supervised family program, Tessa explained. Everything today was permitted and documented. No violations, no concerns. Blaze exhaled. Tessa continued, measured. She was not unsupervised. She rolled outside the immediate table range, which happens with curious children. Staff responded appropriately. Maren listened, absorbing tone more than words. The tension in her shoulders eased a little. Tessa crouched to Maren's level. You did something kind today, she said. Returning something that wasn't yours. Maren hesitated. I didn't want him to lose it. That makes sense, Tessa replied. And you didn't get in trouble for trying. Maren's breath left her in a tiny rush. Blaze watched this exchange like a lesson he'd never been taught. No interrogation, no pressure, just clarity. Tessa stood. Mr. Hargrove, she said, turning to him. Thank you for bringing her here. And for staying. I wasn't sure what to do, Blaze admitted. That's allowed, Tessa said. What matters is what you do next. She closed the folder gently. Marin has a temporary placement arrangement while we complete a longer-term plan. Nothing urgent. Nothing unsafe. Marin's eyes widened. I won't move today, she asked. No, Tessa said immediately. You're staying right here tonight. Marin relaxed back into the pillow, exhaustion overtaking worry. Tessa glanced between Blaze and June. I'll need to speak with you both privately. Outside the room, the hallway hummed softly. Tessa's voice lowered. Children like Marin learn very early to take up as little space as possible. It's not trauma, it's adaptation. Blaze swallowed. She asked if she did something wrong. Tessa nodded. That's common. They assume responsibility for adult reactions. Blaze's jaw tightened. I don't want to be another adult who disappears. Tessa studied him carefully now. Then don't be, she said. But understand this isn't a promise you make today. It's a pattern you prove over time. Blaze nodded slowly. Inside the room, Marin slept safe, warm, unaware that the quiet man beside her bed was already changing the way he understood responsibility. The night settled gently over St. Ilara Children's Hospital lights, dimming to a soft glow meant to encourage rest. The city beyond the windows glittered restless and far away. Blaze stayed. June Park left for an hour and came back with coffee no one drank. She watched Blaze sit in the same chair, unmoving, as if leaving would break something fragile. Marin slept deeply now, breaths slow and even. Her stuffed seal rested beneath her chin, one flipper tucked under her cheek. Blaze noticed everything. He noticed the way her fingers twitched when the IV beeped softly, and how Nora adjusted the line without waking her. He noticed the crayon drawing taped to the wall, blue waves, gray stones, a sun half hidden but trying. At some point, Blaze spoke, voice low. She thought she made a scene. June closed her eyes briefly. Yeah. I've spent years avoiding scenes, Blaze said. Anything messy? Anything emotional? June looked at him. And now, he didn't answer right away. He watched Marin sleep. I don't think she was being loud, he said finally. I think the world just wasn't listening. June's throat tightened. She nodded. Nora checked in again, whispering updates. She'll be fine. You can go home if you want. Blaze shook his head. I'll stay. It wasn't heroic. It was simple. Hours passed. Marin stirred near dawn, eyes fluttering open. She frowned, slightly confused by the unfamiliar ceiling. Then she saw Blaze. She froze. You stayed, she whispered. Yes, Blaze said. I said I would. Her brows knit together. People say that sometimes. I know, he replied. I'm here anyway. She studied his face carefully, like she was looking for the trick. Then she asked quietly, Am I in trouble? No. Blaze said. Not even a little. Marin relaxed again, sinking into the pillow. Okay. Silence settled between them. Not heavy, not awkward. Just shared. After a moment, Marin spoke again. I didn't want your money. I know, Blaze said. I just wanted you to have it back. I know. Her voice grew smaller. I get tired fast. I saw, he said. You were very brave. She frowned. I wasn't trying to be brave. He smiled softly. That's usually how bravery works. Marin considered this, then yawned. Will I go back to the center? Yes, Blaze said. When the doctor says you can. She nodded, satisfied. Then, almost as an afterthought, she asked, Will you come again? Blaze didn't rush his answer. Yes, he said carefully. Tomorrow, if you'd like. Her eyes closed, a smile barely touching her lips. June watched from the doorway, tears she didn't wipe away. Blaze stayed until morning, painted the windows pale gold. For the first time in years, He didn't feel late for anything. Morning brought paperwork. Not dramatic paperwork. Not headlines or press releases. Just forms, signatures, careful conversations. Tessa Lane returned with a clipboard and the calm authority of someone who protected children for a living. "Mr. Hargrove," she said, "before we discuss anything long-term, I need to be clear." Blaze nodded. "Please, Marin's safety and stability come first," Tessa said. "Not gratitude, not opportunity, not charity." "I understand," Blaze replied. Tessa studied him. "You don't know her story beyond today." "No," he said. "But I want to." "That may not be possible right away," Tessa said. "Children aren't puzzles to solve." Blaze accepted that. "I'm not trying to solve her." Tessa's expression softened just slightly. "What are you trying to do?" she asked. Blaze looked through the glass at Marin, now awake, coloring quietly with Nora nearby. "I want to show up," he said. "Consistently, legally, without promises I can't keep." Tessa nodded. "That's the right answer." She flipped a page. "There will be evaluations, home checks, supervised visits, time." "I have time," Blaze said. June raised an eyebrow. "You never used to?" Blaze smiled faintly. "I never needed it." Tessa closed the folder. "Then we begin with temporary guardianship review." Slowly. Blaze nodded. Relief and fear tangled in his chest. Inside, Marin finished her drawing and held it up. "Mr. Blaze." He entered the room immediately, kneeling again. "Yes," she showed him the picture. 2 figures by the ocean, one tall, one small in a chair. "You came back," she said, like it was a fact worth recording. "Yes," he said. Marin hesitated, then asked the question she'd been holding all morning. "Can I stay?" For a little while, Blaze didn't answer with grand words. He answered with truth. "Yes," he said. "For as long as the people whose job it is to keep you safe say it's okay." Marin smiled, slow, careful, real. That was when Blaze understood something vital. This wasn't a rescue. It was an invitation. And for the first time in a long time, he accepted it. The days that followed did not feel dramatic. They felt careful. That was the first thing Blaze learned about systems designed to protect children. They did not rush, even when emotions begged them to. They moved deliberately, quietly, with checklists instead of speeches. Tessa Lane coordinated everything. There were evaluations, not interrogations, conversations, not accusations. Each step was explained, each boundary clearly marked. Marin returned to the Harborstone Learning Center once the doctors cleared her. The staff welcomed her like she had never left. Someone had fixed the squeak in her wheelchair. Someone else had taped her ocean drawing to the wall near the reading nook. Blaze visited when permitted. Always announced. Always on time. He learned quickly what showing up really meant. It meant sitting on a small chair meant for volunteers. It meant listening to Marin explain the rules of a board game she mostly made up. It meant accepting juice in a paper cup and pretending it was the best drink he'd ever had. He didn't bring gifts. Tessa had been clear about that. "You don't buy trust," she'd said. "You earn it." So Blaze earned it the slow way. He learned that Marin liked to count steps, not because she was anxious, but because numbers made the world feel predictable. He learned she hated loud rooms, but loved music played softly. He learned that she said thank you even when she shouldn't have to. One afternoon, as Marin colored beside him, she asked, "Do you have rules too?" Blaze smiled faintly. "Too many." "Do you break them?" she asked. He thought for a moment. "I'm learning when to." That answer seemed to satisfy her. June Park watched these visits from a distance, often stepping in only when needed. One evening, as they left the center, she said quietly, "You're different." Blaze didn't deny it. "I used to think care was something you delegated," he said. "Turns out it's something you practice." Tessa's reports reflected the change. Consistent presence, appropriate boundaries, responsive listening, No theatrics. Just progress. For Marin, the world had not magically transformed, but it had become steadier, predictable in new, gentle ways. And for Blaze, the quiet was doing something strange. It was teaching him how to stay. The night before the guardianship review arrived without fanfare. Rain traced thin lines down the windows of Blaze's penthouse, turning the city into a blur of light and shadow. He sat alone at his desk, a single object placed carefully in front of him. One flyer, Marin's flyer. The corners were worn, now softened by hands and time. He turned it over, slowly reading the simple words again. Free books and meals. All families welcome. He realized with a quiet ache that the word welcome had once felt conditional to him. Something earned, something negotiated. June stood in the doorway, uncharacteristically hesitant. You've postponed the board meeting, she said. Yes, Blaze replied. They won't like it. I know. June smiled just a little. They'll survive. She stepped inside. Are you nervous? Blaze considered the question. He'd negotiated billion-dollar deals without a tremor. But tonight? Yes, he said simply. June nodded. Good. Means you care. He looked back at the city. I'm afraid of doing it wrong. June crossed her arms. You already will. That's not the question. He turned to her. Then what is whether you'll keep showing up after the first mistake? That landed harder than any warning. Later, Blaze stood on the balcony, rain misting his suit jacket. He thought about the moment in the lobby, the weight of Marin collapsing into his arms. The look on her face when she asked if she'd done something wrong. He whispered into the rain, not as a vow, but as a decision. I won't disappear. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just truly. Inside, he placed the flyer into a folder marked important, a word he had once reserved for contracts. Then he turned off the light and went to sleep earlier than usual. Tomorrow would ask something of him, and for once he was ready to answer without calculation. Family court did not look like television. It was smaller, quieter, a room designed for listening rather than spectacle. Marin sat at a low table beside Nora Delgado and a child advocate, her feet swinging slightly above the floor. She wore a soft blue sweater, chosen carefully, not fancy, not new. Comfortable. Blaze sat a few rows back, hands folded, posture respectful. He did not try to catch Marin's eye. Tessa had explained why. Let her choose freely, she'd said. Even attention can be pressure. Judge Adrian Cole entered, calm settling over the room like a held breath. Proceedings began. Tessa presented her report, clear, precise. Marin Waverly is 5 years old. She demonstrates age-appropriate cognition, strong empathy, and a preference for predictable, consistent adult presence. Malcolm Pierce spoke next, outlining Blaze's compliance. No embellishment. Just facts. Then the judge turned her attention to Blaze. Mr. Hargrove, Judge Cole said, why are you seeking guardianship? Blaze stood. He did not perform humility. He simply told the truth. Because she returned something that wasn't hers, he said, and did it without asking for anything in return. Because I realized how easily I could have kept walking. The judge watched him carefully. And what do you believe she needs? She asked. Consistency, Blaze answered. Protection. Someone who listens when she speaks quietly. Judge Cole nodded and turned to Marin. Marin, she said gently. Do you understand why we're here? Marin nodded once. Do you want to tell me how you feel? Marin glanced at her advocate, then at Blaze. He stayed still. She spoke softly but clearly. I like when he comes back, she said. He listens, even when I talk small. The courtroom seemed to exhale. Judge Cole paused, then smiled just enough. Thank you, Marin. She reviewed the papers one final time. I grant temporary guardianship to Mr. Hargrove, she said. With continued oversight and review, no gavel slam, no applause, just relief. Blaze closed his eyes briefly, gratitude steady and deep. Marin looked up at him, not asking, just checking. He met her gaze and nodded. He was still here. And this time he wasn't going anywhere. The courthouse doors closed with a soft final sound that echoed longer than it should have. Outside, Harborstone went on exactly as it always did. Traffic humming, wind lifting paper along the steps, people passing without looking. But something had shifted, quietly and permanently. Marin rolled beside Blaze, bundled in her blue sweater, hands folded neatly in her lap. She didn't smile yet. She was still learning what temporary meant and whether it could be trusted. June Park waited a respectful distance away, giving them space the way one gives room to something fragile. Tessa Lane joined them on the steps, folder tucked under her arm. "This doesn't mean everything is finished," she said, calm and clear. "It means everything begins carefully." Blaze nodded. "I understand." Tessa crouched to Marin's level. "You did very well in there," she said. "Thank you for telling the judge how you felt." Marin shrugged slightly. "I just said what was true. That's usually the hardest thing," Tessa replied. When Tessa left, Marin looked up at Blaze, uncertainty finally surfacing. "Do I go back to the center now?" "Yes," Blaze said. "For today. That's part of keeping things safe." Her shoulders relaxed a fraction. Routine mattered. They walked slowly toward the waiting car. Blaze adjusted his pace without thinking. He noticed when Marin's hands tightened on the wheels and paused when she needed a moment. At the curb, Marin stopped. She looked up at him, searching his face like she had that first day in the hospital. "You'll come back?" she asked. Blaze didn't answer immediately, not because he was unsure, but because he respected the weight of the question. "Yes," he said. "Tomorrow. And the day after that." Marin nodded, absorbing the promise without clinging to it. As the car pulled away, Blaze watched until it turned the corner. The quiet that followed didn't feel empty. It felt earned. June stepped beside him. "You okay?" Blaze exhaled. "I think so." He looked down at his hands, remembering how small Marin's had felt when he'd caught her in the lobby. For the first time, the future didn't look like a schedule. It looked like responsibility, and he was ready to meet it. Home did not change overnight. That was important. Marin's days stayed steady, morning routines at the learning center, familiar faces, scheduled visits with Blaze that never surprised her. Consistency came before comfort. Blaze's home, meanwhile, began to soften, not with renovations or luxury, but with intention. A ramp installed quietly, a guest room cleared of glass decor and sharp edges, a small table added near the window, low enough for coloring and puzzles. He asked before doing anything. "Is this okay?" became his most used sentence. Marin visited under supervision at first. She explored, carefully rolling from room to room, taking in the quiet. She stopped at the window overlooking the water and watched waves roll in and out. "They keep coming back," she said. "Yes," Blaze replied. "They do." He learned her rhythms. When she tired, when she needed silence, when she wanted company but didn't know how to ask. One afternoon, as they worked on a puzzle together, Marin paused and said, "You don't talk loud?" Blaze smiled. "Neither do you." She considered this, then nodded. "That's good." The oversight meetings continued. Tessa asked hard questions. Blaze answered honestly, not perfectly honestly. June noticed the changes most clearly. Blaze left meetings on time. He turned off his phone during visits. He learned to sit still. One evening, as Marin prepared to leave, she hesitated at the door. "Can I bring this?" she asked, holding a book from the shelf. "It's yours," Blaze said. "You don't have to ask." Marin blinked at the word yours, then hugged the book to her chest. "Thank you," she said, the habit still strong. Blaze knelt to her level. "You don't always have to thank people for letting you stay." Marin thought about that. "Okay," she said slowly. "But I still want to." That night after she left, Blaze stood alone in the quiet house. It no longer felt empty. It felt like it was waiting. Weeks later, the sky over Harborston cleared into a bright, honest blue. Maren arrived for her visit carrying her stuffed seal and the book she loved. She rolled into the living room without hesitation, now familiar with the turns, the light, the view. Blaze knelt as she entered, instinctive. "Hi," he said. "Hi," she replied, smiling, no mask this time. They spent the morning quietly. Drawing, reading, listening to music played low. Nothing remarkable to anyone else. Everything remarkable to them. As afternoon light slanted across the floor, Maren grew thoughtful. She watched dust motes drift in the sunbeam. "Mr. Blaze," she asked. "Yes," she hesitated. "Can you say my name again?" He felt his chest tighten, not with fear, but with care. He knew what she was asking. "Maren," he said clearly. "Maren Waverly." The sound of it settled her. She nodded, satisfied. She looked down at her hands, then back up. "When you say it, it sounds like it stays." Blaze swallowed. "I intend it to. There would be more reviews, more paperwork, more careful steps ahead. But some things were already true." That evening, as the sun dipped toward the water, Blaze walked beside Maren on the balcony, moving at her pace. "You know," she said softly, "I don't get tired as fast when you wait." He smiled, eyes bright. "Then I'll keep waiting." Maren leaned back in her chair, watching the waves. For the first time, she wasn't counting how long she could stay. She was counting on someone staying with her. And that quiet, steady reel was how a family began. Did this story move your soul? Share your feelings in the comments and rate it from 1 to 10. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, then tap the bell icon so you never miss a new story. Click the end screen to watch another heartfelt video. See you in the next story.